Okay. And then let me swap the camera and we'll do the chalice lighting over here.
Okay. Would you mind lighting it?
Yeah, good. Let me just get the camera turned.
Actually, do one of y'all want to light it for us? No?
You're
Okay. We Unitarian Universalists, we don't drink from our chalice. Instead, we use it to hold the flame. The circle of the chalice helps keep the fire small. The flame doesn't blind us. It doesn't burn us. It gives us light so we can see all the different things in the universe, even the invisible ones. Because the Unitarian Universalist flame is a light of learning. The flaming chalice is a symbol of learning and love. It's our symbol, the symbol of Unitarian. Do we have any announcements? Jim? You're muted, Jim.
Thank you. Yes. So I have a couple. Both of them are related to COVID. The first one is that at our last board meeting, the board decided that we have I'll say a request, but really more than that, to anybody who comes to church and then finds out that they are then test positive or have COVID, that they immediately let the board know, somebody on the board know. And the reason there is we then want to get in contact with everybody else who was at church that Sunday and let them know so they can be tested and if need be, take other precautionary measures to not spread it. So if you come to church and then subsequently find out you're positive, please let a board member know immediately. So that's number one. Number two is actually our COVID numbers. We've been sort of on a plateau or going sideways for quite a while. But then on Tuesday, we were still right there at like 20. Wednesday, it jumped up to 25, and that's the last time Chuck looked at it. Chuck Margaret's doing that. So looking at what's going on around the nation with this new Omicron, the numbers, when you fully have Omicron around, it's the main strain, the numbers it's the potential to double every 2 to 3 days, is what I'm reading. So it's probable our numbers are going to go up pretty fast. So what that means is, backing up just a little bit, at the November board meeting, the board modified our opening policy. So just very briefly, if we're down at 5, we're automatically fully hybrid, in-person, and Zoom. Between 5 and 100, that's where we're at now. It's the board's discretion to keep the church open or closed. When we hit 100, we go back to fully Zoom, fully internet. So I don't know how fast the numbers are going to go up, but based on what's going on around the world, I think our numbers are going to go up here in the next month, maybe sooner. So that's sort of the lay of the land. And Chuck, do you want to say any more about that?
Well, I look at like what's going on in New York and realize we have a lag and we're just a couple weeks behind them, and that same pattern is going to spread out through the country. And Omicron, I think, is going to be, Delta was like chickenpox contagious. Omicron's apparently like measles contagious, which is considerably more contagious. And so I kind of expect the numbers to shoot way up real fast and then to come down pretty fast, for the simple reason that everybody who's not vaccinated and some of the ones who are will have had it. So, it's going to run out of targets. So expect a really sharp high wave followed by a really sharp downturn, and hopefully we'll get through it.
Thank you, Chuck. And Ricky, I have a request of you. As we've stated earlier, we have a really good microphone in the church, and we're picking up background chatter from somebody talking at church. Sounds like a lady. So all of those side
Yes, I'm talking because all of your pictures were not on the screen, so we did not know who was on Zoom, and Katie's trying to fix it.
Yeah, we were having technical difficulties and they're working.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Anything else, Jim? Go ahead, Chuck.
Very quickly and simply, there won't be any Thursday night discussion group this week. We'll get back to it next week.
Okay. Anybody else have announcements? Yes, Carrie.
Next Sunday, Cass will be speaking, and I apologize, Cass, for not remembering the title of that. If you would share that with us, I would appreciate it.
The title is What Am I Thinking? Which was an inspiration from Gene's talk that he gave a month or two ago. What am I thinking? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that
And
all?
that'll be via Zoom, right?
Yes, it will.
Okay, if there's no other announcements, we are going to move on to the reading. We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses of, from time to time, community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate us. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, and someplace we can be free. And with that, Bill Davis is going to play the hymn for us this morning. Thank you. Awesome. That was beautiful.
It's nice to hear music.
Absolutely
Yes, it is.
beautiful.
Thanks.
Before Carrie takes over here, I wanted to read one thing to segue into it. When Carrie asked me to speak in a little bit, she had given me a prompt to do some writing, and basically without knowing it. And so I just wrote a quick poem, and she wanted me to kind of share it with the church. So the isolation, the silent night and devastation, illness creeping through the world, leaving most everyone weeping. I rise to a new occasion, transforming myself and becoming a new creation. I've hurt before for so long, but no more will I allow myself to sing that song. Time to stand up and time to fight. If I quit now, it becomes an eternal silent night. I feel a fresh breath of air swimming in my lungs. Rejoice now, for my self-destruction no longer shuns. That thing I was, gone, has been cast to sea, and no longer dictates to the world what I can be. So here I am, humbled by the life regained, and a second chance has been attained. And with that, I will hand it over to Carrie.
Thank you, Ricky. I've asked some members of our congregation to speak this morning. I've asked them to speak on what has fulfilled them and sustained them through the last couple years. I feel that's really been difficult for almost all of us, and I thought it would be good to hear what some people have gone through. Bill is going to be playing some music, and I'm gonna have him start out with some music for us. Thank you, Bill. Our first speaker is going to be Katie. But one thing I want to say is Katie is working our electronic system. We are so fortunate to have her. She's switching us around and making sure everything is on where it's supposed to be and off where it's supposed to be off. And I just want to say, Katie, I appreciate so much what you have been doing. And Katie's going to share with us how she has been fulfilled and sustained over the last couple of years.
All right. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm just checking to make sure that I'm actually on screen and everything. These past couple years have been really tough, especially working retail and dealing with the public and how they are handling these past couple years. But I've been doing my best to try to also take time for myself and emotional and mental refreshment. And so one of those ways was I've been trying to exercise more, because I've noticed that when I get out and I exercise, take a walk, whatever, it helps me to be able to handle the day better. And so one of the things that I've done is, if I can find it, I've been doing these virtual races. With these virtual races, you get medals. So like this one is for doing the Inca Trail, which is 26.2 miles. I've also this year challenged myself to run the year, so to speak. I won't make it the full 2,021 miles, but I have done 1,063 miles this year, which is a lot more than I usually get. So I'm trying to look on the bright side and realize that even with some of the injuries that I've been dealing with this past year, and the foot problems and all, I'm still getting up and I'm moving more than I was. And that was especially important to me after my father passed away in January. And then another thing is I've taught myself to crochet. And so I've made some little crochet critters, like a little octopus and a little triceratops. For Christmas, I'd made my coworkers penguins. And then one of my coworkers asked for a little crocheted bunny rabbit for her son. So that's something that I can do when I'm just sitting and relaxing. It keeps me busy and helps to keep me from overthinking and just having my mind be all over the place. So for me, these past couple years has just been about recentering myself and getting myself figured out there.
Thank you so much, Katie. Have a lot of fun. Bill, would you play it? Bill's gonna play another piece for us. Next, we're going to have Ricky speak. He has been doing a lot in his life, I know, and I'm really interested to hear how that's helped him.
What? I forgot my brain. If I didn't have it on here, I wouldn't remember it. Leading up to the last 2 years, to 3 years prior, I tried to drink myself into an early grave pretty much because I was hiding from the world and hiding from myself. So, you know, in an odd twist, when COVID came along, for some reason, I was able to get past a lot of things. And, you know, some of us have been through things so traumatic that the human mind, it's not built to handle it. But we fight day and night to persevere, you know. And if that's not strength, I don't know what is really. So the last 2 years, I mean, I just started taking on all kinds of different things until I started finding the things I really like. I've gotten a lot better at disc golf, a lot better. I've become a more emotionally calm person, especially in my dealings with other people. More level-headed, less angry. I've taken on photography and had things published already. Music, art, all kinds of different things. And these are things that have helped me get to a point now where I can feel like I can help others. Even though I know, and I do help others as much as possible. Even though I know my struggle isn't over, and like I still have things to combat myself, I feel like now I actually have the tools to do so. And I don't feel like I would have been able to achieve that without the miracle hatred of Zoom. You know, we all hate it, but I was able to do these things that I wasn't socially able to do before from the comfort of my living room, from my safe space, you know. And that really helped me a lot. Writing has become something very dear to me. And so I'll end with a summation of like basically the last 2 years of my life. So why do I feel so alive? Is it the perception? Is it because of the perception that I'm starting to thrive? Feeding on a hunger in a world in disguise? Hiding from the fact that their blood pressure will rise till their anger fills the skies. I was angry, a man on a mission. Whether in combat or at home, I would attack those with the disposition of being in my life. My emotions screaming to be hushed, while my adrenaline courses through my heart with my unheralded end urging to be flushed out like the enemy in the dark. Now absorb this story even when it may seem stark. Even though it's cliche, shine your brightest in the dark. Be the beacon for those it pains and never forget how that hurt coursed through your veins. So my answer to why I feel so alive is because I've been dead inside while I fought for every breath while a tear-drenched face continuously cried. It's that pain and hurt that taught me to survive, so I can be the cushion for them seeking death's final dive. And that's all I have.
Our last speaker this morning is Sharon Hunter, all the way from Alaska. And since she's being snowed in, I think that it would be really interesting to see how she's been fulfilled and sustained over the last couple of years. I know that a couple of weeks ago, she was not getting out of bed because it was so cold. So, Sharon, tell us how you have fulfilled and sustained yourself over the last couple years.
You're muted.
There we go. Is that better?
Right.
Excuse me. When Carrie asked me if I would speak on what sustained me through 1921, she didn't actually tell me not to tell anyone that I was one of the speakers, but that is what I did. And so you might have noticed the surprised look on Barb and Colleen's face when they announced me. And my topic is my family weekly Zoom conference. So they are learning, they are hearing all this for the first time as well. Each week for perhaps a year now, Barb, Colleen, and my mom, Chucky, have had a standing appointment for Zooming. And it lasts about 2 hours. My husband puts in a cameo appearance with an update on his activities. Zoom offers an advantage over our former phone conversations because we are each hearing about news and activities from the primary source. That is, not through the reporting of it through a second person, with the potential distortion that can come along with that process. And so another advantage over a phone conversation is that when one of us reacts with a supportive remark or a remark of concern, we hear each other all at the same time. And it's also in real time. This makes for problem solving that is more likely to be more cohesive than it would otherwise be over the phone. We discussed the UU speakers. And I noticed that I feel a connection because of the personal stories that he or she is willing to disclose. In turn, I feel less of the isolation that COVID has brought to all of us in our lives. At times, we have agreed to read and discuss some of the books that the speakers have referenced. I find our conversation have a depth reminiscent of the style of the pre-COVID UU talkbacks, in which anybody could be selected to start off, and the comments had a tendency to build on one another and led to more personal disclosure. I would like to add that the success of those talkbacks was in no small measure due to Casey's skills as a designer. And like many or all of you who knew him, you probably do miss him. And even though he's only been a small part of my life, when I've made visits to family, he does leave a very important, I don't want to say impression, but leaves definitely a remembrance in me that is very healing. There may be some aspects that have sustained you. during the UU talkbacks this last year, and I invite you to name them in our talkback today. Thank you.
Sharon, your screen froze up when you told us the person that you then talked a little bit more about. Who was that?
Casey?
Oh, yeah, okay. How'd you hear that? Okay, Bill is going to do a little bit more, but I want to say a couple things before that because that's how we're going to finish with Bill's music. In the past, the Sunday after Christmas was not very well attended. It's better today than it's been. So this is really great that we've got several people here today. But in the past, and I'm not sure exactly what happened more recently, but I know in the past when I was attending, we would pull our chairs into the fireplace room, have a big roaring fire, which now we realize how dangerous that was, because that fireplace is hardly existing. I mean, the chimney hardly exists. And we would all talk about whatever was important to us at the time, and we Don Mayle started that, I believe, or it may have happened before he was the minister. But we would just talk about what came up and how our year had gone and maybe what we were thinking about for the future. And since we're not gathering like that now, I thought this would be the best way for us to share our time together about how we have done in the last year or so. So I just wanted to make that brief explanation, and Bill will finish off with some music, and then Ricky will close.
I'll close with this, and then we got enough time where we can have a 15-minute coffee break, which we bring your own coffee. No more we have to make it for each other, which no fun, but that's okay. That's how it is. Even when our hearts are broken by our own failure or the failure of others cutting into our lives, even when we have done all we can and life is still broken, there's a universal love that has never broken faith with us and never will. And that's from hymnal 1, or the book we have, number 184. So take 15 minutes, come on back, and we'll circle the wagons.